So have you ever looked at your investment portfolio and seen a bunch of different statement symbols and numbers and titles of different funds and things that you're invested in and wondered to yourself, well, what does this all mean? I know I've picked some good investments, but what exactly do these mutual funds, these index funds, these different tools do for me, and how do they work? Well, in today's video, we're going to open up the covers a little bit behind what exactly a mutual fund is, and what exactly an index fund is, and how they work, and how they might be a good fit for you. Hi, I'm John Norberg, and welcome to the Financial Proud Series. So, if you've ever wondered about how a mutual fund works, or maybe how an index fund works, this is the video for you. Let's start with mutual funds. So, the analogy I like to use is like going to the market in the olden days, right? If you were headed to market, you might have a basket over your arm, and you might be going out for a number of different ingredients for that night's meal. Well, in this analogy, we're going to use eggs because that's popular in the investment world, right? So let's say we're going to the market for some eggs. If you're an active mutual fund manager, you're going to the market and you want to get the best eggs that are out there. And you're going to take your time. You're going to analyze each individual egg before you put that in your basket. And you're going to figure out one of the best eggs to you that you think are going to do the best or taste the best when you use them. Now, a mutual fund, that is the basket in our analogy, is nothing other than a holding vehicle for the investments. In this case, let's say stocks, right? And each egg represents an individual stock. It could be any stock out there at all, any publicly traded company. And we're looking for those companies which are going to do the best according to the meal we're making, that is, according to the benchmark that we're looking to meet or exceed as active mutual fund managers, right? So the whole idea is that you're going to the market, you're spending your time at the egg vendor, and you're looking at each individual egg, trying to figure out which ones are going to do the best for you. And then when you get home, that is, in the future, it's going to probably inevitably be the case that some of those eggs, some of those holdings are going to have done very well for you. You know, they're going to taste great, they're going to look great, it's everything you wanted. But probably, in this analogy, some of those eggs may not be as good as you'd hoped they'd be. It's just inevitable that in this case, some of those eggs will have gone bad or about to expire. In other words, didn't do what you wanted them to do. So the active mutual fund managers try to avoid as many bad eggs as possible and get as many good eggs as possible. And there's going to be some time and some cost that goes into doing so, right? And then as time goes on, every time he returns to market, he's doing that process again, trading in and out, trying to find the best eggs or stocks or bonds or whatever the case may be for that basket, for that meal he's looking to make. So that's actively managed mutual funds. Now let's talk about index funds, which are typically passively managed. So passively managed mutual funds are a similar approach, but it works like this. You've still got a basket and you're still putting eggs in it when you go to market. But instead of spending a lot of time and detailed analysis on looking into each egg, try to pick out the best ones, instead it's more of a, I'll have one of everything approach. So when you get to the egg vendor, you simply say, yeah, I'd like one of everything. And each day when you return to market to see what new egg types may have come up, you go ahead and say the same thing again. You know what? I'd like one of everything. Trading it out in that fashion. It's much quicker and more efficient, and therefore the cost is typically lower. And that can also be passed on to the final consumer, aka you. And that passively managed approach is known as basically the index fund philosophy. So it's a different approach, and because it is cheaper and more efficient, and the fees on index funds tend to be significantly lower than on the actively managed mutual fund side, history has shown us that passively managed index funds, on the whole, tend to do at least as well, generally speaking, of course, as their actively managed mutual fund counterparts. Now, while actively managed mutual funds may sometimes beat their benchmark, a common benchmark would be the S&P 500, which is a collection of about 500 stocks across various industries here in the US, right? While those actively managed mutual funds may sometimes beat their benchmark, they probably also sometimes underperform it, whereas the index fund generally tends to mirror that benchmark pretty closely because, again, it simply holds one of everything of what the market holds, right? And so it's always going to underperform slightly by design based on whatever that fee is. So, if the mutual fund has a fee at 1% on this side, right? then it's generally going to have 1% chopped off of its return before it actually posts those numbers, because that's the cost of doing business. That's the cost of analyzing each of those eggs on a consistent basis every time we return to market. Whereas the passively managed passively managed index fund, on the other hand, more efficient, much quicker, I'll have one of everything, and thereby tends to have much lower fees. They still have the cost for doing business, but let's say the index fund might have a fee of 0.1%, 1/10 of what the actively managed mutual fund has over here. So because of those two different approaches, sometimes the active does better, sometimes the passive does better. It depends on a great number of different factors. Usually when you're working with us here at Norbert Wealth Management, you're going to find that you're going to have a mix of both in your portfolio based on what your goals are. Not always necessarily. We believe that each investor's needs are different, but we like to take a both and approach, not one or the other, when it comes to our investing for our clients. Now, if you have invested before, but you've never had a plan attached to that investment portfolio, remember that money is nothing more than a means to an end, right? Just like eggs are typically a means to the end, whether that's an omelet or a delicious baked good or whatever it might be, so too, money is a means to the end, our ultimate goal that we're saving for, that we're investing for. Whether that's retirement, financial independence, sending kids to college, could be anything. The point is that you want to have a plan behind it. So if you've never sat down with a financial advisor and talked about what you hold and why, and whether that's best for what those goals are, let's talk about it. Send us a message and give us a call. We would absolutely love to hear from you. And in the meantime, I'll go ahead and see you out there.